Did you know that the average human attention span has reportedly shrunk to just 8.25 seconds?
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's actually less focused than a goldfish, which apparently clocks in at a whole 9 seconds.
That's slightly worrying, isn't it? Especially when you think about how much we seem to celebrate juggling tasks.
Exactly. In a world that often celebrates the art of juggling multiple things, there's this really common belief that doing several things at once makes you more productive. A superstar, even.
It's a deeply ingrained idea, definitely. You see it everywhere, right? People firing off emails during meetings, constantly flicking between projects. It almost feels like, a badge of honor to be that busy, always switched on.
But what if that feeling, that busyness, is actually just an illusion?
That's the core question, isn't it? What if the real secret to getting more done and maybe feeling genuinely better about it is something much simpler, something deeper?
That's exactly what we're going to dig into today. This deep dive isn't just about finding a few productivity hacks. It's about fundamentally rethinking how we approach our work, our focus, and really understanding the power behind focusing on one single thing.
Yeah, our mission today is to challenge that whole multitasking myth head on. We want to unveil the pretty robust science explaining why single tasking can seriously boost your productivity, spark creativity, cut down stress, and ultimately just lead to a more, fulfilling way of working and living.
So get ready to maybe rethink how you handle your day and perhaps discover what it really feels like to be in the zone.
Okay, let's do it.
So first things first, let's tackle this giant myth of multitasking. What we think is multitasking.
Yeah.
Handling several complex things all at the same time with equal focus. That's actually not what our brains are doing at all.
That's such a crucial point. It's not simultaneous processing. Cognitive psychology folks call it task switching. Your brain isn't truly doing two complex things at once.
It's more like juggling, but dropping the balls a lot.
Kind of. It's rapidly shuffling its attention. Think of it less like a conductor leading an orchestra and more like a frantic game of mental whack-a-mole. Your focus keeps popping up here then there, leaving bits of unfinished thoughts behind.
Right, that mental ping pong. And it comes with a real cost, doesn't it? Often one we don't even notice.
A huge cost. Some research suggests this constant back and forth can chew up as much as 40% of someone's productive time.
40%? Wow.
Yeah. Imagine nearly half your potential output just evaporating. Not because you chose to be distracted, but because of this invisible tax your brain pays every single time it switches gears.
That's an insidious drain. It makes you feel busy, sure, but maybe you achieve far less than you could.
And what's really interesting and maybe a bit sneaky is that many people who do this a lot, the frequent task switchers, they genuinely believe they're being super efficient.
Right, they feel productive.
Exactly. But study after study shows it's largely an illusion. Think about, say, a manager constantly checking email during a really important strategic planning session. They feel responsive, sure.
Keeping things moving.
The depth of their thinking, their long-term vision, the quality of the actual strategy being developed, it's fundamentally compromised.
It's that constant activity creating a false sense of accomplishment. And our modern world, our digital age, just pours gasoline on this fire, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're just bombarded. Notifications, emails, Slack messages, social media pings. It's relentless.
Makes it almost impossible not to switch tasks.
It does. The temptation is almost overwhelming, and it leads to this really fragmented attention span. It's like trying to have a deep conversation while someone keeps tapping you on the shoulder. You're there physically, but your mind is just scattered.
Yeah. You're present, but not really present.
It's ironic, isn't it? All this tech promises speed and efficiency, but it often ends up fracturing our attention, making it harder to do the deep, focused work that really matters.
So, okay, if this mental juggling act is so costly, what's the brain's preferred way of working? How are we actually designed for high-quality output?
Now we get to the good stuff. The science of single tasking. It shows pretty clearly how our brains are actually wired for deep, focused work. Fundamentally, we are not built to handle multiple complex cognitive tasks at the same time.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly. Our brains excel when they're immersed in just one thing. That's their sweet spot. We've just been trying to override the default settings.
That really clicks. It reminds me of cognitive load theory. The idea that our working memory is, limited. Like a computer's RAM, right?
Precisely. Think of it like having only so much mental bandwidth available at any one moment. When you try to juggle multiple complex tasks, you're splitting those limited cognitive resources.
Creating a bottleneck.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a cognitive bottleneck. This doesn't just slow you down, it dramatically increases the chances of making mistakes. There was a really powerful study on this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, looking at students, those who deliberately avoided multitasking during lectures, put the phone away, closed the extra tabs, they understood the material much more deeply.
And scored higher on tests, I bet.
You got it. Scored significantly higher. Their brains weren't trying to process complex lecture content and simultaneously check Instagram. They were fully engaged.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's this idea of attention residue. That sounds intriguing.
It is. It's about the fact that our attention is finite. It's a limited resource. When you switch tasks, even quickly, part of your attention lingers on the previous task.
Like an echo in your mind.
Exactly like an echo. Think about if you're deep in writing something important and you quickly check an email that popped up. Even when you go back to writing, part of your brain is still thinking about that email, who sent it, what it needs.
Right, I've totally felt that. You're back on the main task, but you're not fully back.
That's the attention residue. It's like leaving a tab open in your mental browser. It's still using up background resources, subtly degrading your focus on the main thing. And studies suggest it can take up to 25 minutes to fully regain deep focus after a significant interruption.
25 minutes, just from one quick check.
Potentially, yeah. Think about how many quick checks happen in a typical hour. It adds up incredibly fast, silently stealing your focus time.
Okay, this is slightly terrifying.
Yeah.
But the flip side, the real magic of single tasking, is that it unlocks something amazing, right? This flow state.
Ah, yes. Flow. Being in the zone. That's the promised land of focus. It's that state of complete immersion, heightened focus where you're just fully absorbed in what you're doing.
And it's much easier to get there when you're focused on just one thing.
Much, much easier. It's where peak performance really happens. Think about artists lost in their work or athletes performing at their absolute peak.
Yeah, they seem totally absorbed.
They are. They often describe this state as where their skills perfectly meet the challenge, time disappears, and distractions just fade away. It feels effortless, even when the work is hard.
Okay, so the science is clear. Let's talk about the tangible results. What are the real-world benefits people see when they actually commit to single tasking? Because it's not just about feeling good, it's about results.
Absolutely. First and foremost, you see a dramatic boost in productivity. Simply by eliminating the constant switching, all that cognitive energy goes directly into the work itself.
No more mental tax for switching gears.
None. Research from places like MIT found focused workers were 5 times more productive. And another study, I think, from the University of California showed potential increases up to 500% when people worked without interruption.
500%. That's not just tweaking efficiency, that's the whole different level of output.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what we're leaving on the table by constantly interrupting ourselves.
It really does. And alongside that massive productivity jump, you get significantly improved work quality.
Makes sense. Deeper focus means fewer mistakes.
Exactly. When you're truly engaged with one task, your output is just naturally more meticulous. You catch errors you might otherwise miss. The quality goes way up.
Like a graphic designer focusing solely on one logo versus trying to bounce between 3 different client projects.
Perfect example. The single-tasking designer is far more likely to produce something truly creative, polished, and importantly, error-free. The attention to detail just happens more easily.
And this leads to something else, really critical: stress reduction.
Oh, hugely. Trying to juggle multiple things constantly puts your brain on high alert. You feel fragmented, anticipating the next switch. It's inherently stressful.
Whereas single tasking is calmer.
Much calmer. It promotes a more structured, focused approach. You feel more in control, which leads to lower anxiety and just better emotional well-being overall. You're steering the ship, not being tossed around by the waves of notifications.
That feeling of control is huge. And I guess better focus also means better memory.
Directly. When your mind isn't strained trying to hold on to bits and pieces from multiple tasks, it can absorb and store the information you're currently working on much more effectively. Better learning, better retention.
And ultimately, this all adds up to just greater satisfaction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A better feeling about your work and your life.
It really does. Deeply engaging with one thing fosters a profound sense of accomplishment, of mastery. You're not just ticking boxes, you're truly doing something meaningful, seeing it through.
That must boost job satisfaction, contentment, even help with work-life balance. It shifts work from feeling like a chore to something genuinely fulfilling.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But To get these benefits consistently, we have to face the enemies of focus. We need to understand distractions.
Right, the things constantly trying to pull us away. And in our world, digital distractions are probably public enemy number one.
They really are. Technology is amazing and enables so much, but wow, does it present a constant stream of temptations. Emails, texts, social media alerts, they're designed to grab our attention.
Those little red notification badges.
Exactly. They're like little sirens calling you away from your focus. But it's not just digital.
True. Physical workspaces can be minefields too.
Absolutely. Think about the average office. Chatting colleagues, ringing phones, just the general background hum. Open plan offices, for instance, while intended to foster collaboration.
Can actually make people more distracted.
Studies show exactly that. More prone to interruptions, less able to focus deeply compared to having a quieter, more private space.
And then there are the distractions that come from inside our own heads.
The internal ones. Sometimes the toughest to manage. Wandering thoughts, worries about personal stuff, even just daydreaming about what's for dinner.
Yeah, my mind can definitely wander off on its own adventure sometimes.
It happens to everyone. Those internal pings can hijack your attention just as effectively as a phone buzzing on the desk. This is where things like mindfulness become so valuable.
Training the brain to notice and come back.
Exactly, building that muscle of awareness, noticing when the mind wanders, and gently, without judgment, bringing it back to the task at hand.
Okay, so understanding these external and internal distractions is step one. Step two must be having actual strategies to fight back, right?
Right.
To cultivate that single-tasking muscle.
Yes. And it is like training a muscle. It takes deliberate practice, consistency.
So where do we start?
A really powerful place is with solid prioritization. Start each day by identifying the one most critical task. The thing that, if you get it done, makes the biggest difference.
The one thing.
The one thing. Tools like the Eisenhower Matrix, sorting by urgent and important, can be super helpful for cutting through the clutter and finding it.
Okay, identify the priority. Then what? Lock it down.
Pretty much. Use time blocking or time boxing. Allocate specific chunks of time, say 90 minutes, purely for that task. Everything else is off limits during that block.
No emails, no calls, just focus.
Exactly. Even if your schedule is unpredictable, setting the intention to block time is key. The Pomodoro technique is great for this 25 minutes of focus, short break, repeat. It's flexible.
Environment matters too, right? Setting up your space.
Hugely important. Optimize your physical workspace. Declutter your desk. Use noise-canceling headphones if you need to create a bubble. Maybe even just a simple sign asking not to be disturbed. Take control of the physical cues.
And for the internal noise, the mind wandering.
That's where mindfulness techniques really shine. Simple breathing exercises, maybe a short 5-minute meditation before you start your focus block. And creating pre-task rituals can help too.
Rituals? Like what?
Simple things. Turning off your phone and putting it out of sight. Closing all unnecessary browser tabs. Maybe putting on a specific focuses playlist. These actions signal to your brain, okay, it's time for deep work now.
Interesting. Using technology to help, not just hinder.
Exactly. Leverage tech smartly. Use apps like Freedom or Cold Turkey to actively block distracting websites during your focus time. Consider single-purpose devices like an e-reader for reading, not a tablet full of apps.
Time tracking tools could help understand where time actually goes.
Definitely. Tools like Toggle or Rescue Time give you data. And don't overlook AI and automation for handling the repetitive, low-value stuff that eats up mental energy better spent on deep work.
And breaks. We can't forget breaks. Seems counterintuitive, but crucial.
Absolutely crucial. Short, regular breaks are essential for maintaining peak cognitive function. Your brain needs downtime to recharge. Think sprints, not a marathon.
Okay, and finally, how do we keep improving?
Reflection and adjustment. End your day by quickly reviewing. What worked well today? Where did I get derailed? Maybe keep a simple productivity journal. It's about continuous improvement, tweaking your approach.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Let's go even deeper now into that state we mentioned, flow, the pinnacle of single tasking.
Right, flow, that feeling of being completely in the zone. It's a mental state where you're just totally absorbed in what you're doing. Energized focus, full involvement, often real enjoyment in the process itself.
It's not just for athletes or artists, right?
Not at all. A researcher cracking a tough problem, a writer deep in a story, a programmer debugging code, they can all experience intense flow. It's about that deep immersion, losing track of time.
And the impact on performance is massive.
Huge. People in flow report incredible productivity, like getting days' worth of work done in hours. They talk about enhanced creativity, their minds just opening up to new ideas. And huge boosts in motivation because the work itself feels rewarding.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. So what triggers it? A few key things. Clear goals are vital. Knowing exactly what you're trying to achieve provides direction and challenge.
And the task itself needs to be engaging.
Yes, deeply engaging and appropriately challenging. Not too easy, that's boring. Not impossibly hard, that's frustrating. But right in that sweet spot where your skills are stretched, that's what pulls you in.
And, as we said, a quiet workspace helps enormously.
Essential. Minimizing distractions is key to both entering and staying in flow.
What does it feel like emotionally?
People describe a strong sense of control, almost effortless action, a loss of self-consciousness, you're not worried about how you look or what others think. The world just fades away, and there's this intense enjoyment, satisfaction, purely from doing the activity.
It's about the process, not just the outcome.
Precisely. Interestingly, some research suggests that age and experience might correlate with flow. Maybe because more experienced people often tackle more challenging tasks that hit that sweet spot.
But flow isn't all sunshine and rainbows, is it? There's a potential downside, the edge of focus.
That's a really important point. Flow is powerful, but like any powerful state, it needs managing. There are risks.
Like what? Getting too absorbed.
Exactly. One big risk is simply overworking, losing track of time completely and working way past normal hours. That can hit your physical health, burnout, migraines, exhaustion, and definitely impact your personal life.
Yeah, forgetting to eat, skipping exercise, neglecting relationships.
All of that. Becoming so immersed in work that other vital parts of life get pushed aside. That's a fast track to burnout.
And can you get addicted to the feeling?
It sounds strange, but yes. Some people report feeling dependent on being in flow, they feel unproductive or lost without it, and they might try to force it, pushing themselves too hard, which is unsustainable and, again, leads back to burnout.
So it's about finding a healthy relationship with flow, not chasing it constantly.
Exactly. Balance is key.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty compelling picture for single tasking and flow. But let's add that layer of nuance. Is multitasking always bad?
Good question. And the answer is no, not always. It's not about a complete, rigid ban.
So when is it okay?
It can be perfectly fine, even efficient, for routine tasks that require very little cognitive effort, things that are almost automatic.
Like folding laundry while listening to a podcast. Or maybe checking simple emails while on the train, not driving.
Perfect examples. The primary task, folding, commuting, is low load. It leaves mental bandwidth free for something else that isn't demanding deep thought.
What about creativity? Does switching help there sometimes?
Interestingly, yes. For some creative processes, switching between different types of creative work, maybe painting for a bit, then writing can actually help avoid blocks. It keeps the mind fresh, offers new perspectives.
So the key difference is critical. It's about trying to think about two complex things at once. That's the problem zone.
That's the core distinction. That kind of cognitive juggling is where efficiency plummets and errors creep in. But doing an automatic physical task, like showering, while letting your mind wander and brainstorm creative ideas, that's different.
As long as the second thing doesn't interfere with the first, especially if the first requires safety or real focus, like driving.
Absolutely. If the primary task needs focused driving, complex problem-solving, surgery, any cognitive multitasking is a bad idea. But if you're doing something mindless, letting your mind roam productively is fine. It's about awareness.
Okay, that clarifies things nicely. So, wrapping things up, we've really dug into this multitasking myth, revealing it as costly task switching.
And we've explored the solid science backing single-tasking cognitive load, attention residue, and its amazing benefits. More productivity, higher quality work, less stress, better well-being.
We journeyed into the powerful state of flow, understanding its triggers, impact, and even its potential dark side.
And importantly, we added that nuance. Multitasking can be okay for low-load tasks or certain creative switches. It's not black and white.
It really feels like focusing on one thing isn't just a productivity tactic, it's more fundamental. It's about training your focus like a muscle, deliberately, consistently.
Absolutely. In this crazy, noisy world bombarding us with distractions, choosing to just do one thing well isn't just about efficiency. It feels like reclaiming your mental space, deepening your experience, actually living in the moment you're in.
Finding real satisfaction in the process.
Yeah, genuine satisfaction.
So, as we finish up this deep dive, here's a thought to carry with you. In a world constantly grabbing for your attention, what one thing could you choose to fully immerse yourself in today? What task could you give your complete focus to just to experience that transformative power for yourself?